Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. I'm JC, contemporary fiction author and poet. I have 5 books, 3 poetry collections, 2 novels, soon to be 6 books, adding a 3rd novel, When Love Calls, that releases June 10th. And I also have an online magazine, an online store, a Patreon, Ko-fi if you would like to tip for any future creative endeavors. Today's video, I thought it would be fun to go over a few of my first lines or paragraphs in completed drafts that I have. I'll admit that I thought I had more completed drafts than this, although perhaps it's a good thing that I don't. By my count, it's about 7. 4 in the Mackenzie. Okay, well, no, 1 isn't completed. Okay, so I have several completed drafts of Mackenzie Brown books 1 through 4, and then there's the Her Own Separate Life book, which I have a mostly completed first draft, and then I decided to change and try to do a different version and start a second version of Her Own Separate Life, to which I'm not entirely sure which one I'm actually going to go with, but there are 2 chapter 1 beginnings, so I'm going to read both of those. And I have London Chronicles book 1, which is my middle grade, which is completed. And then I have the 7 Deadly Sins collection, which is actually going to be a Patreon exclusive story, which will likely be published further down the road for the rest of the public viewing, but it's going to initially, and it could stay, a Patreon exclusive story. But I included that into this into this video as well, because I do have the first story completed. Just working on the next ones. And then I have a book that I'm almost positive I'm not actually going to publish, but it is finished. And it's called Love Don't Love Me. I don't think I'm going to ever publish it, but never say never. I've learned that. So I included it as well. So it was initially going to be just to read the first few lines, but then sometimes the first line is only a couple of words. So I just decided to go with the first paragraph of each project. So I'm actually going to start with Love Don't Love Me, which is the one I'm probably never going to publish. And I put all of the first paragraphs into a Google Doc so that I don't have to flip back and forth between different documents to read this to you. But if you see me looking, I have to look at the screen because I don't know these things by heart. But Love Don't Love Me, the first small itty bitty paragraph is, it says, my stomach was full of butterflies, and if I bit my bottom lip anymore, there would be no skin left on it. I was nervous and anxiously awaiting whatever it was that Nick had to tell me. He had just arrived after calling me an hour ago to make sure I was home from work, and my heart has been pounding ever since. He sat me down on the couch as if he were about to tell me something he knew I couldn't handle. This is also when I was like a baby writer as far as novel writing goes. I think it was one of my first ever, it was my first ever novel that I completed. So, which is likely why it will never be published. But there you have it. For the 7 Deadly Sins collection, it starts as the first story is more of a prologue type of story. But this is the first paragraph. I didn't mean to kill him. It was an accident, but I can't say that I'm not glad that he's dead. If for no other reason, then I know what I'm capable of. And now, so will they. Everything was a blur to me as I entered the old dining hall, the one that I spent the first 6 months of my freshman year isolated in a corner eating meals alone. As I looked around the room, trying to find them, I was amazed at how easy it was for me to get in. All I had to do was find a name and give it to the woman checking people off at the table in the front, and she just took me at my word that I was who I said I was. That was her mistake. She had no idea that I didn't actually belong here. This would have been my reunion had they not ruined everything for me. That's the first paragraph of that. Um, then there's my middle grade, London Chronicles, Book One. So the first paragraph, and I will note that this first chapter, I believe, was evaluated by Michelle Schusterman herself. And while obviously it's not perfect, she did say that she liked it. So I'm just going to note that because I'm very proud of that fact. London Chronicles, Book One. My name is London Carmichael. I'm 12 years old and I hate change. Okay, maybe hate is too strong of a word. And plus, my mom would tell me to never hate anything. It's not as if I don't know that changes are going to happen. I mean, I'm 12, so of course things can't stay the way they are now for my whole entire life. I just happen to prefer if things outside of my little bubble don't change too much. Considering the fact that I'm part of a military family, that would probably make a lot of people laugh. But I can't control all the different places that we have had to move to because of my dad was in the army. I thought that we had finally stopped moving on our last move, but I was wrong. Here we are again, in a new town, in a new house, with me having to start a new school and make new friends all over again. That's the first paragraph of that. Okay. So for her own separate life, this is the first paragraph of the first version. She laid there on the floor lifeless. My body was frozen. My ears were ringing from the loudness of the gunshot. My mother was dead. There was so much blood and her eyes were still open. The tears came almost immediately as I rushed to her side. My father pulled me away from her before I could even say goodbye and took me into the hallway just outside his office. As the men walked by me, they stared me up and down. The one who shot my mother stopped to turn around and told my father that if he talked, we were both dead. I huddled close to my father as I glanced back to where my mother lay on the floor. After they left, my dad hurried to the phone to call the police. When they arrived, they quickly had another officer cover up my mother's body, but they didn't even close her eyes. They tried their best to get a statement from me and my father, but I couldn't identify the man who shot her because they wore masks, and I knew my father wasn't going to tell them who they were. They said we were lucky, but I didn't feel lucky. That was the last day I saw my mother, and I couldn't even remember what the last thing I said to her was. And then she was just gone. Okay, now for version 2. I was 15 years old when my father sent me away, as if that would erase what happened that night from my memory or his. The moment that I even thought that I could forget, the nightmares came back to haunt me again. They made me want to drink again or go out and get high. I wanted anything that would numb the pain or take away the memory of her blood on my hands. But even alcohol and drugs could only take away so much of the pain. I often wonder, did she know I loved her? Had I told her enough times? I can't even remember the last words we said to each other. I just remember that one moment that destroyed my entire world. And that's version 2. I am partial to version 1, actually, now that I think about it. Now I'm going to read the first paragraph of my 4 mystery books, which, well, anyway, I'm working on the 5th one, but I don't want to read from the 5th one yet because I'm still working on it. But and all of these are first draft stages. I have not revised any of these yet, so these are not polished versions. So Mackenzie Brown book 1, and none of these have official titles. They're just book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4 for right now. I had never seen a dead body before. I mean, sure, I've seen them on television shows like Law and Order, but never this close and surely never this personal. Andrew Litney wasn't just some stranger who had been stabbed to death. At one time, he was a respected congressman for the state of Maryland, and he was a high-profile corporate lawyer. And mostly, He was my first real love. He was the first person I dated when I went off to college, and he was someone who I thought I had found true love with. He was also the first man who showed me what men in this world were really like. The last time I had seen him was a night that I have always tried to forget, and I had hoped that I would never have to see him again. I thought that seeing him lying on the ground, his body outlined in chalk, would give me some sense of relief or satisfaction. But sadly, I just kept wishing that I had been the one who had done it. That's book one. Okay, so for book two, um, I've given you the first two paragraphs because if I had stopped at the end of the first paragraph, you'd be a little lost, which I suppose you're going to be lost anyway because I'm not giving you the whole entire thing. But anyway, book two starts with somewhere in a diner near the Atlantic City boardwalk. Somewhere in a diner near the Atlantic City boardwalk. She sat there at the counter waiting for the waitress to come back over to her with a pot of coffee to refill her mug. She hadn't really slept well the night before, but she couldn't put her finger on why she had become so restless. Then again, she had never really slept all that well over the last 20-something years. If she wasn't having nightmares of what happened that day, then she was having dreams of what her reality could be like now if she had done the right thing all those years ago. It was too late to change things now, but insomnia had certainly become her new best friend. Then, like a sign from God or something, she saw the breaking news banner run across the screen of the television set. "Hey, Bonnie, do you think you could turn that up for me?" "Sure thing, hun." Bonnie grabbed the remote and turned the volume up a few notches. "This is news anchor Janice Roberts with the WJZ 13 News. We have breaking news this morning. A body, said to be decades old, has been discovered in Baltimore along the walking trail near Druid Park. Police are unable to give any specific details to us at this time, but sources located around the area are speculating that this could be one of the bodies of the March 5 girls. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, the March 5 girls went missing from White Marsh Preparatory Academy almost 24 years ago, and the case went cold about a year after their disappearance, with not one of the girls or their remains ever being found. We'll have more for you as the details are confirmed, but for now, traffic near the Druid Park area is at a slow crawl due to heavy police activity, so if you have anything to do near that area, plan your route accordingly, because you may be delayed. That's all we have for now. Stay tuned for the weather coming up after this commercial break." And that is how book two starts. Whew. Okay, book three. Whew. Shit. She's not supposed to be waking up yet. "Shut up, someone's going to hear you," I whispered. I put my hands over her mouth to try and muffle the sound. I don't know what happened. I must not have given her enough. Or maybe she wasn't as much of a lightweight as I thought. Shit, I gotta get out of here. I grabbed a piece of her clothing from the floor and stuffed it in her mouth. I had to keep her from screaming again. "Shut up, or I will make you regret it. You know who I am and who I run with, so you know what they will do to you." I pulled myself up to where I was no longer on top of her. She remained on the couch, shaking like a leaf, but she stayed quiet as she was instructed to. I pulled my pants all the way back up and zipped them shut and began reaching around on the floor for my shirt. I pulled on my shirt just as I saw flashing lights coming down the street. I have to get out of here before I get caught. I can't believe I got so sloppy with this one. And that's how book three starts. So we're in the action of a particular crime, which leads to another crime, but you have to read the book to get there. And this is the start of book four. And in this book, actually, certain chapters have different names as the chapter headings. So, anyway, book four, chapter one, Jacob. Somewhere in Pennsylvania, we were in the alley behind the shelter of choice for tonight. This wasn't exactly the best one, but it was the only one left open for the night. Once Reggie told me that I couldn't stay on the floor of her room anymore, I had to think quickly. The only thing that I was sure of was that going back home wasn't an option. I almost had the money I needed to get emancipated, and then I would be able to just live on my own without answering a whole bunch of questions. I didn't like what I had to do to get this money, and I wasn't even sure that I was going to get away with it. But it is what it is now. And that's the start of book 4, Mackenzie Brown. So those are the beginnings of all of my drafts so far. Most of them are completed drafts. All of the Mackenzie Brown books that I read are completed first drafts, and then I completed most of the first version of Her Own Separate Life. And then the London Chronicles is a completed first draft of that middle grade book. And the Love Don't Love Me is completed, but I'm likely never going to publish that one. And Seven Deadly Sins is not completed, but that first story is. It's going to be a book of pretty much like vignette style. It's going to be a collection of stories that make up one collective story, if that makes sense. So this video will matter a lot more when we get to another series of videos that I plan to do in the future, in where I will enlist your help to help me pick what my next publishing project will be. Like my next book to take and revise and move towards publishing. So stay tuned for that. But with that, that's going to be it for this video. If you like what you see and you want to see more videos from me, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. I post videos on Mondays. I live stream on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As per usual, if you would like to be supportive of me in any of my creative endeavors, such as my blog, my online magazine, my online store with writer merch, becoming a member of my Patreon, tipping me on my Ko-fi, buying my books on Amazon, or reading them in Kindle Unlimited, all of those links can be found in the description box below. And until next time, take care of yourselves and have a blessed day. Bye.